2012, our denomination began the 1001 New Worship in Communities Initiative. Have we heard of this before? Its goal was to create 1001 new worshiping communities within 10 years. So far, there have been hundreds of these new worshiping communities that have been planted and started, and many of them look different from what we might think of as being church. They are an attempt for us to reach out to folks who we haven't been able to connect with and didn't reach out to. And one of these stories began with a woman named Diane Anderson. She wasn't a pastor. She was just a regular member of a church, an elder like, oh, I'm pretty sure all of you. But she felt something tugging at her. And so with the encouragement of her pastor, she began to look into the 1001 new worshiping communities with the intent on doing something somewhere else. Doing something new, far away. Yet, the tugging that was pulling at her did not go away. In fact, the tugging was pulling her back home and looking at her community that was in disrepair, where there was rampant drug use and prostitution. So before she finished the process of formal training, she began to go out. And she would go out into the street, bringing with her chicken wings and offering them to prostitutes, talking with them, praying with them. Soon this became FaithWorks, Wings and a Prayer, one of the 1001 new worshiping communities. And it goes out into its community in New Jersey, offering prayer and offering food to those who even coming into the church building to get a free meal was a barrier they couldn't cross. And when Diane started, she was very much like the 70-ish that Jesus sent out in today's gospel story. I say 70-ish because some of the ancient copies of Luke say 70 and others say 72. Which is the traditional number of the Gentile nations. Like the 12 disciples before, they are sent out. Almost nothing. They are sent out with almost nothing in the regards to the message that they have to share. To put it into perspective, the 70 were sent out with what we might think of as only a partial knowledge of the good news. The reason I say partial is that when we generally think about people being sent out with the good news, it usually includes something about Jesus being resurrected from the dead. But considering this is Luke chapter 10, that hasn't happened yet. The whole thing about Jesus conquering death and sin is really important to us. And so here we have one of the first mission trips where people are being sent out by Jesus, and they don't have what we might even consider to be a complete gospel. They weren't trained theologians, and they hadn't gone to school to learn about Jesus. They hadn't read books. There was no New Testament to pore over and memorize certain verses. They had simply been followers of Jesus. And since Jesus' earthly ministry lasted for about 3 years, they hadn't even been followers for a very long time. And they were tasked with going out, healing, and announcing that the kingdom of God was near. And in doing so, they were to be completely vulnerable. They were to go out like sheep, surrounded by wolves. They were to go out without pretty much anything, just the clothes in their back. When I go out in the morning, I make sure I have my wallet, I have my keys, I have my cell phone, I have maybe some snacks and my coffee. And these were going out with none of that. And they were going out to be completely reliant on the hospitality of strangers. It would be the strangers who would house them, the strangers that would feed them. And with that uncertainty, they go out to heal. They go out to proclaim. They go out and they cast out demons.
It's so heavy.
And when we think of healing, we think of doctors, nurses, and hospitals. When we think of casting out demons, we think about the movie The Exorcist. These are things that are either in the realm of science or medical professionals or fantastical stories in movies or the Roman Catholic Church. Both don't sound like things that fall within our daily lives, much within our skill set. Yet they are things that we are called to do. One of the strangest things I've ever heard on the radio was a commercial that was purchased by a funeral home. You may have heard it or seen a billboard that had the same message. The funeral home was not trying to sell coffins or funeral services. In fact, you might want to even say that if this ad was successful, it would reduce the business that the funeral home would receive. The ad was a warning about the dangers of heroin and other opiate addictions. Another way to look at just what this ad from the funeral home was doing, it was working on casting out the demon of addiction that has become so prevalent in our society. We do not have to look far to see that there is a heroin epidemic sweeping over our country, affecting people of all races, of all classes. It doesn't discriminate. It is just one of the myriad of demons within our society that need to be cast out. These demons should sound familiar to you. We know them, but we rarely acknowledge them as demons. Drug addiction, racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, greed, intolerance, privilege. They are all demons that need to be cast out. The first thing that we need to do is to call these things what they are. A demon that needs to be removed. There's an old magical belief that knowing the name of something gives you power over it. And in this case, it's true. All I have to do is call your name, and guess what? Dick? You look at me, right? That's the easy part. Then comes the work. Then comes taking a stand. Risk being vulnerable like those early disciples. the next part is the healing of that brokenness, of what is left behind. We can help others heal. We are not trained to be doctors. We are not trained to be exorcists. We are followers of Jesus Christ. And so that means that each one of us is sent out to heal, sent out to proclaim, sent out to exorcise demons. It means that we are to take a stand about these things, to call them for the evil that they are, so that we, as a society and as individuals, can work to remove them. And then it means that we are there in the aftermath, there in the void that these demons have left, there to fill it, not with ourselves, but with the love that we have from God. This is what all of us are called to do. This is what all of us are called to be. Doctors, healers, exorcists, but most importantly, servants of